Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Amanda, and today is Mary Magdalene's feast day. Now, I have been on the path of the priestess myself, a priestess of the rose, and the number 22 has been coming up for me so much in the last week, especially the last few days, like everywhere I look, 22, 22, 22. So she's really been calling, Mary Magdalene has really been calling me to connect with her, and I feel to share more about her. And I know there are many people sharing more and more about the divine feminine energetics and the path of the priestess and Mary Magdalene herself. Her frequency is rising on the planet, and it's calling us all to step up and to share from our own perspective, from our own frequency, as we connect to her ourselves. And this is exactly what it's about. I just saw 111 on the timer. Alignment, coming into alignment with our truth, our authenticity as we connect to the feminine energetics within. So I want to get into Mary Magdalene, who she really was, and the resurrection of the divine feminine energy, the role that Mary Magdalene is playing. I feel that she is the representative in this time of the rise of the divine feminine, of the restoration and resurrection of the divine feminine energy as we connect to it and as we perceive it. So she is part of the lineage of the rose, and we're going to get into the meaning of her name as well. And it was funny, as I was preparing to sit down, and by the way, I started recording at 2:22, and that was not planned in advance. It's the 22nd at 2:22. All the twos have been coming up. But as I was coming into my center and into the energy for this video, the Shakespeare quotation from Romeo and Juliet actually came through. What's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but I am sure you're familiar. You're familiar with that quotation. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, actually, there's so much in a name. The power of a name is actually very profound. And so when we can actually connect with the energy of Mary and Magdalene and what they mean, we can restore her energy to its truth. So this is what we're going to do in this video. And there's a lot more I'm going to share about Mary Magdalene and the divine feminine energy and the goddess energy. So I think I might even create a series of videos, so stay tuned. And of course, I always appreciate the likes, subscribes, comments, because it really helps the channel and for these particular messages to get out there. But let's dive in. So Mary was actually a title that signified a priestess of the goddess, a woman of the sea, as we'll get into, a woman of the mother. Okay, so there's a lot in that name alone. Mary, mère is the root. And in French, it's mère and mère are the same words spelled slightly differently for mother and sea. So a woman of the sea, a woman of the mother. It's the oceanic consciousness of the divine feminine that is being signified with this title. So there's also the word mermaid, which we can break it down, but essentially any woman who held the title of Mary was a bride of God. And that's a big, profound statement. The priestesses who followed this path were embodiments of being the bride of God. So it was a very, very profound signifier. And of course, we have Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and a number of other Marys in the Bible. And the Bible created these completely alternative stories of who they were, each and every one of them, right? So this is that restoration energy coming through, that resurrection energy of who they really were, and restoring them to their rightful place as the powerful women and priestesses that they really were. So the Mer energy, the Mare, the Mar, the Mary energy was those who considered the ocean to be their mother, the oceanic consciousness, the soul's oceanic essence itself. So Mare also signifies the priestesses who followed the sisterhood of the rose lineage of the Christ and Magdalene energies. It is the way of love, the path of the divine feminine. It is one of devotion to love, of grace and surrender. The word grace has been coming through a great deal lately. So the water energy represents the deep feminine wisdom, the essence of love, of surrender, of flow as well. And the divine feminine energy is very connected with that energy of flow and surrender, opening up to receive the beauty and divinity that wants to work through us. So there's this energy of purification as well. So there's this energy of purity as opposed to the energy of the whore and the prostitute that Mary Magdalene was made out to be by the Catholic Church. Now, the Catholic Church has restored her name to a degree. They created a feast day in her name, which is today. However, that distortion still runs through because it was a distortion that carried through millennia, that carried through many centuries, that is deeply rooted in our subconscious understanding of the feminine. So the feminine was suppressed, the feminine was distorted. And we're going to get into the distortion of the feminine energy a little later on in the video, but I just want to presence that because it has been completely inverted. This distortion has completely corrupted our understanding of her power, of her purity. So Magdala itself, Mary Magdalene, Magdala meant high place. It meant tower, fortress. So it could also signify temple, the high place being the temple. I think of it as also the body temple, but it also can connect to the amygdala, which is also a title of, that means greatness and exaltation, eminence. So there's a lot of deep meaning connected to the name Magdala as well. So Miriam of Magdala meant either a queen herself or a high priestess, but for me, I really feel that it's both. She was the queen of the king, and she was also a high priestess that served as the initiation energy, the portal of initiation for the resurrection of the Christ energy within Yeshua himself. So Miriam of Magdala was a watchtower of the flock that signified strength and power, and it also signified the strength and power of the divine feminine as the path for the resurrection of the Christ energy within. So she was a mother, a wife, a lover, a priestess, an embodiment of the sacred feminine. She was Yeshua's equal. She was the feminine Christ energy herself. She was a powerful healer in her own right, who sat by his side as his equal, as his partner. So this is what has been lost. She's even in, her more pure essence, she's still seen as a disciple, as opposed to his equal. And this is part of the restoration. She is the queen to his king. Side by side, they walked forward in their ministry, in their ministration of healing, of serving the population at the time, of resurrecting the truth and anchoring in the blueprint of Christ consciousness. So one of the symbols associated with her is her what is it called? The cross of Camargue, the Camargue cross, which has an anchor within it. It is the cross, the anchor, and the heart. So the feminine is very much about embodiment. And within her own symbol, the Camargue cross is the anchor. So we have this very powerful energy of the downward anchoring of the Christ consciousness into the physical. And that's exactly what is happening with the rise of the divine feminine, is about anchoring in new earth energies, anchoring in the heaven on earth energies. We are birthing the new earth through the womb, the divine chalice of the purified womb space, the immaculate womb that is represented by women who follow the path of the priestess and who follow this path of restoration of love frequencies into the planet. So this card itself, I just saw 1101. To me, I see Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene unified. So 1111. This energy of nurturing, of passion, of power through the womb space. That's what the rose embodies, the red rose of the womb blossoming to birth through frequencies of love. So birthing the new earth through the frequency of love, through the frequency of the heart space, connected to the womb space. This is what Mary Magdalene's teachings were about, is activating the eros, activating sacred sexuality. So she herself was the portal for Yeshua to resurrect, to receive his final initiation into his resurrection body. She was the portal for that through her body. So she was an anointing priestess, and Christ means anointed one. He didn't become Jesus Christ until she anointed him through her vessel, through her womb space, her immaculate womb. That this is how he became the anointed one. She also worked with sacred oils the sacred oils were used for rites of passage in life, all rites of passage. This is how the priestesses served their community, and they often used these sacred oils. But she was anointing through her Amrita as well. So the sacred her energy, which is har, which is harlot, which is whore, that word has become very distorted, but is a priestess who had mastery in the art of sacred sex and channeling life source, life force, life source energy through the body. So we could look at it as the Kundalini rising as well, the activation of the Kundalini rising and the purification of the energy centers, going through the rites of initiation and clearing out any energies of distortion, is what allowed her to be this vessel of resurrection for the Christ energy. So for a king to have rule of the land, he had to be symbolically wed to the goddess. Priestesses took on the role of the goddess during the sacred marriage. So this was the role that they played. And it was one of service, it was one of devotion, it was one of pure love for humanity and for the land itself, the one of pure love for the goddess. So she served as that role for the king to be anointed through her. And this is where things got distorted. And that sacred sexuality was completely inverted into something more perverse, into something less sacred. So they desecrated the sacred path of sexuality, which is one of the purest and most potent, powerful energies for the spiritual awakening process, for the resurrection of the spiritual energies within, is through the sexual energies. When they're controlled through a particular medium, through particular teachings, those teachings were completely suppressed and distorted. And so this is the time of that resurrection. However, this distortion is ongoing. We can see this in every level of society. Women who have reclaimed their power face so much so much backlash, but also, some more current events that I have seen that I've been kind of reflecting upon. Women who embody the distortion are being thrust into the spotlight right now. So the distortion of feminism is women putting on a pantsuit and stepping into the role of the man, and we exalt that when really it's still a distortion. It's woman taking on the role of the man in the masculine energy rather than exalting the feminine energy within. So I look at Kamala Harris and Pantsuit Nation. If anybody's familiar with that, it's when Hillary was running years ago. It's a group on Facebook. And to me, there's a fundamental distortion. As I have been walking this path of the priestess, there's a fundamental distortion in women simply putting on a pantsuit and taking on the role of the man in the boardroom. That is still operating in the patriarchy. And there's a lot we could say about particular politics and politicians, but I'm not going to get into that. But she still does represent the woman just simply stepping into the role of the man, but being in a woman's body. And that's not what the rise of the divine feminine is about. Meanwhile, I just came across a video about bimbo core being on the rise, which I was like, what is this about, bimbo core? And it's about, women fitting this particular role that goes back to the 2000s of, that Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie and a lot of the pop stars like Britney at the time, the low rise, and then the thin, slim, blonde and tan bodies kind of being exalted as the ideal. But it wasn't just that. It didn't just stop at that. It was also the dumbing down of the woman to fit this stereotype. And apparently this is making a comeback through certain figures in the celebrity culture, which I don't even know too much about because I don't follow celebrity culture, but I saw an analysis of this in a video, she was presenting this theory, and I was like, oh, that is fascinating. And all of this is coming out. So Kamala was put forward as the new presidential, the Democratic nominee for president the day before Magdalene Feast Day. Now, a year ago, the Barbie movie came out, another fundamental distortion of the feminine energy the day before Mary Magdalene Feast Day. I find that to be quite fascinating and something that is perhaps not accidental or coincidental, that these major energies of the feminine are being pushed out into the collective the day before Mary Magdalene Feast Day, that are absolutely rooted in a distorted feminine energy. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that there's distortion in all of that. So to get into the distortion of Mary Magdalene herself, there was also this 7 demons cast from her. So this perception of her as being demonic and, a sinner. But what that really meant was that it was linked to her initiations, the 7 chakras of the body, going through the 7 gates into the underworld, as the goddess traditions teach. So the temples of Isis and Ishtar and Inanna, they teach about the symbolic rites of initiation that go through the process of death and rebirth, descending through the gates of the underworld to be reborn, to be resurrected in embodiment and wholeness, having cleared the chakras, having cleared the energy field of wounds, of trauma. That's what sins referred to. The anger and fear and greed. These are the sins that we are washing away from our energy body. This is what they were teaching us. This is what they were showing us. So the resurrection is very much about physics and inner alchemy. Mary Magdalene was a master of inner alchemy. This really doesn't have to do with anything related to religion. Spirituality and religion are very distinct, to be clear. So resurrecting the truth of love is what Mary Magdalene embodied. The truth of the goddess, the truth of the mother. This is what she represents. And that has been fundamentally inverted, distorted, corrupted in the patriarchal based religious teachings. So we are here to now restore that and to resurrect her true essence, her true nature. So how do we embody anything if we don't love our body, right? So that's another distortion of religious teachings, is that the body itself is sinful. So this will have us carry shame and guilt and anger for having those impulses, that eros, that desire within, for having sexual desire, for having sexual energies flow through us. There is a fundamental corruption of that very powerful, pure energy if we are not able to love our bodies. This gets back into that whole bimbo core. We have been working hard as a collective to love our bodies, and yet so much of the body positivity movement has also been so fundamentally distorted. And now it seems that there is another push to put idealistic bodies that are not representative of a true feminine into the spotlight. So we've got a lot of work to do still. This is that reclamation energy coming through, that resurrection, that restoration, that reclamation of the truth. And the truth is that the feminine energy is powerful and it is pure. So this is what Mary Magdalene represents. Faith, hope, love, her cross, the anchor, the cross, and the heart coming together to represent the path of the way of love. So the rose as well represents the ever-blooming presence of love that is the divine essence of the divine feminine, of the mother. So life itself is an act, an ongoing act of lovemaking if you make it such, if you allow it to be such. And this is what the divine feminine energy is calling us into, for every act to be one of devotion, to be one of love, to be one of embodied truth. So as we move forward, I would just like to leave you with this remembrance for you to really connect within and to feel on the clock, to feel what the feminine energy is calling on you to do right now within. Is there healing? Is there restoration? Is there resurrection that needs to occur within? And how can you embody love more fully as you move forward? So I will leave you with that for now. And I will share some offerings in the description below to help you more fully work with the chakras, to clear them out, and to more fully embody your authenticity in integrity. That is so important right now. And of course, stay tuned, because there's a lot more that I would love to share about the divine feminine, about the process of awakening mastery within, and the process of awakening itself, how we can master it. So there is so much to be shared, and I've got a lot of series that I would like to create that I've been kind of working on planning and curating and cultivating. So stay tuned. I so appreciate your energy and your presence as we move forward on this collective path. And I will leave you with one more card. That is the Mary Magdalene card from this goddess deck that I almost forgot to share. But we have the beautiful wing energy and this path of Venus represented here with the sacred geometry. So, and this, this beautifully represents the opening of the heart, the opening of love. So with that, I will see you soon. Much love, onward and upward.